What is Islam? Islam is a monotheistic religion practiced by 1.8 billion Muslims worldwide. The word Islam means submission to the will of God and is believed to have been established in the 7th century through the Prophet Muhammad. In this presentation, we will be exploring the history of Muslims in America as well as other parts of the world. What makes your group a group? A group is a number of people or things that are located close together or are considered or classed together. Muslims are a group because they share similar beliefs and values. The term Muslim refers to a group of people who follow the religion of Islam and worship one all-knowing God, who in Arabic is known as Allah. They come from different backgrounds, social groups, and cultures, but they share a common religion which brings them together. There are 5 characteristics that make up a minority group. The first characteristic is the unequal treatment and less power over their lives. Unequal treatment against Muslims in the United States has always been around and manifests itself as Islamophobia. Islamophobia is the fear, hatred of, or prejudice against the Islamic religion or Muslims in general. Muslims have long been identified as other and are constantly identified by the stereotypes perpetuated in the media. They have often been persecuted for their choice to follow the religion of Islam. Many have been threatened, discriminated against, and even killed. The second characteristic is distinguishing physical or cultural traits like skin color or language. Muslims are anybody that follows the religion of Islam and therefore don't share one language or skin color, but they do follow one religion which in itself has its own culture. In Islam, men and women are required to dress in modest fashion. Muslim women will often wear a head cover called the hijab, while there are others who wear a burqa or niqab, which is a full body and face covering. Muslim men are also encouraged to dress modestly by wearing long, loose-fitting clothing that covers the body. There are also different sects, otherwise known as schools of thought within the religion. They are known as Sunnis, Shias, Khawarij, and Sufis. They all believe in the central idea that there is only one God and follow the 5 pillars of Islam. The third characteristic is involuntary membership in the group. Most Muslims were born into the religion of Islam, but according to Science Direct, many Muslims are voluntary minorities, having followed paths of immigration similar to Christian and Jewish immigrants. The fourth characteristic is awareness of subordination. Muslims are aware of their subordination or aware that they are deemed as inferior. The fifth characteristic is a high rate of in-group marriage. According to the Library of Government, under Islamic law, regardless of the school of thought, Muslim women may not marry non-Muslim men, but Muslim men may marry non-Muslim women who meet the definition of kitabiyya. Kitabiyya means people of the book, which typically refers to followers of Christianity and Judaism. Because of this, interfaith marriage is not as common in the Muslim community. Discrimination is the unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex. Muslims face 3 main types of discrimination: social, institutional, and economic. Social discrimination is the sustained inequality between individuals on the basis of illness, disability, religion, sexual orientation, or any other measures of diversity. Muslims continue to face physical and social discrimination regularly. According to the Council on American Islamic Relations, in 2007, there were about 1,900 complaints of abuse and anti-Muslim physical violence increased by 52% between 2003 and 2004. Just recently, on March 15, 2019, a gunman opened fire in a New Zealand mosque, killing 51 Muslims. The day before that, an explosion in Somalia, killing 8 people and critically injuring dozens. According to the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism, Muslims are the most likely people to be victims of terrorist attacks worldwide. In 2017, William Braniff, the executive director of START, stated that the vast majority of terrorist attacks occur in Muslim-majority countries and that the majority of victims of terrorism are Muslims. Institutional discrimination is the unjust and discriminatory mistreatment of an individual or group of individuals by society and its institutions as a whole. After the U.S. implemented the CLARE Act and the Patriot Act, there was an increase in the surveillance of Muslims. Muslim citizens as well as non-citizens have been detained for long periods of time while being denied formal counsel. According to the Office of Inspector General, the average time from arrest to clearance was 80 days. Economic discrimination. Discrimination based on economic factors such as job availability, wages, the prices or availability of goods and services. According to Topical Research Digest, Muslim workers have reported being discriminated in the workplace. Workers have been banned from wearing headscarves or participating in prayer. Although Muslims make up only 2% of the U.S. population, they compose nearly 1/4 of religious discrimination files by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. In 1962, the Saudi regime established the Muslim World League in Mecca with the participation of Muslim scholars and intellectuals from all over the world. The League, whose mission was to unify Muslims and promote the spread of Islam, opened offices in the Islamic world in the 1960s and in the West in subsequent decades. With financial assistance as well as religious guidance from the League, new Islamic organizations were created. In 1979, an Islamic State was founded in Iran through a revolution. The Iranian Revolution was influenced by Third Worldism, a political ideology emphasizing the economic gap between developed Western states and countries in other parts of the world. In 1930, the Nation of Islam, an African American movement or organization, was founded by Elijah Muhammad. The organization was known for its teachings combining elements of traditional Islam with Black nationalist ideas. Their goal was to improve the spiritual, mental, social, and economic condition of African Americans in the United States. On October 2001, the U.S. Patriot Act was signed into law with almost no congressional debate. The Patriot Act allowed the Attorney General to detain non-citizens suspected of terrorism without a warrant and authorized new surveillance guidelines for U.S. law enforcement agencies. In 2003, the Clear Law Enforcement for Criminal Alien Removal Act was passed to give local law enforcement the power to enforce federal immigration laws. Nearly a year after the events of 9/11, the Attorney General announced the introduction of the National Security Exit Entry Registration System. The special registration program applied to men ages 16 to 45 who were predominantly from Arab and Muslim countries residing in the United States on temporary visa. The men were required to report to INS offices for multi-phase registration that included fingerprinting, photographing, and questioning. On January 27, 2017, President Donald Trump signed an executive order that banned foreign nationals from 7 predominantly Muslim countries from visiting the country for 90 days, suspending entry to the country of all Syrian refugees indefinitely, and prohibited any other refugees from coming into the country for 120 days. More than ever before, we are seeing Muslims represented in not only the media, but in places of power. People's perceptions of Muslims are slowly changing as more people educate themselves on the religion of Islam and the people who follow it. Muslims have been and continue to be the victims of continuous terror. Since 9/11, the United States has focused its attention on Islam and Muslims who have been the victims of scrutiny on issues including mosques, Sharia law, and terrorism. Laws like the Muslim ban are still in effect, causing Muslims to feel alienated, and although Islam is becoming more widely spread and known, anti-Muslim hate crimes have increased over the years. Despite all these setbacks, people are slowly becoming more tolerant of Muslims and educating themselves more on the religion of Islam, and therefore we are moving forward in the right direction.